Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. In today's episode, Moshe and I are wrapping up our series on async communication. We would like to thank our guests who helped us talk about Microsoft Teams, Slack, and Loom. These tools are just a sample in the space, but we believe the conversations brought out some really valuable points on how to communicate async in general. So let's hop in. How you doing, Moshe?
Absolutely. Hey, Matt. How are you?
Doing great. Really enjoyed this series. We had some great guests on, and
same here. And I think that like you in the summary you capture it perfectly. It's like it's not the only tools out there, but it's so important to pay attention to something like that this day and age. I was considering when we were preparing this series, I was considering like, should we maybe cover Jira as well?
That's exactly what I was thinking about earlier. Yeah, Jira's another good example.
But really, almost every tool out there can be used as an asynchronous tool. It's just a matter of A, realizing that we need one, and B, how do we use it across the team?
Yep.
So if we are a distributed team, we don't have an office, or we work remotely, or even if we do work together, there is things that are changing over time. And, we want to remind ourselves what happened in the past, or new people are coming into the team and we want them to go over things that happen and stuff like that. Yes, we could show them, we could go through, have a few meetings and go through all the materials and stuff like that, but we know how tedious something like that can be. And that's, I think, is one of those added value of documenting thing, right?
Yep.
Or having things written somewhere so you can, if it's organized, you can go and say to someone, just go and read it there.
Right.
And then come back to me if you have any questions, right? I know there is issues with that as well. Different people can read it in different ways. Maybe it's outdated.
You got to guess exactly. You got to keep it updated, right?
Yeah. Whatever it is. So nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
But we feel, based on our discussions that we had, that asynchronous communication is one of those things that once we apply it can really help us in a lot of different processes, whether they are structured or unstructured processes that we do in our work, to communicate better and save time.
Exactly. And I think these tools that we talked about, like, Teams and Slack, they fall into that communication where it can be sync, it can be async, but they serve as a vehicle for communication when it comes to like people in different time zones, people remotely working. And so those are to really hone in on that. And then Loom came in as a really good way to like add context to conversations that might already be going on, or context to conversations you might want to have. So that video aspect. When I was trying to summarize this in my head, I was thinking about Justin's point about culture. Because like all companies are going to have different cultures when it comes to like communicating, like directly or indirectly. And so I think the idea of culture and how this async communication is implemented is really key. It's like, hey, we use Slack for communication, and this is where it is. So I'm really glad that we were able to speak to we weren't able to speak to a bunch of things, but we honed in on some of the key ones.
Yeah, and this is one of those tools that is more on the, it's not core product manager tools, but still, as product managers, we use them with the rest of the team. I think what we have as, something that is kind of like powerful to product managers is that we can, try to, successful or unsuccessful, I've done it, and I try to do it with different tools in the past, to influence the team the same way that we influence the team on other things. We can also influence them on how to choose tools and how to do asynchronous communication. So I think we are in a specific position in the organization that give us a bit of that, decision making for that. So even if we're not the decision makers on that, even, if we're coming to a company and they already have all of these tools in place, that's great. there is always opportunities to use them even better than the way they were used. But if you're coming to a company and there are none of those, or there is a whole mess of them, one of the opportunities we can get there is, while we are trying to organize the product and organize the discipline around the product, we'll also try to organize that as a support tool for our work.
So that brings up a good point too, because as product managers, part of our role is to facilitate and really stitch together the product team and brings everybody together to build the product. And that's part of our role. Like, there's no authority, but need to stitch it all together. And part of that stitching is async communication, right? So
exactly.
Hey, somebody might be in another time zone or could be in another country. You need to communicate with them. So being able to have that flexibility to do that.
And it's actually interesting because many people do it already on their area of what they do. So engineers will do it in their GitHub or in their Jira tickets or wherever they write to each other on the tickets they're working. And marketing might do it in their system, and other people will do it in their system. So rather than have those separate silos, it's always good to open them up and have a central place where you have this type of communication. Yep. But that's also just show that if we just think about it, on the other tools that people are using, they already have that sense of let's communicate over something asynchronously for different reasons, right?
Yep.
What I think we're trying to emphasize in this series is, to do it mindfully, so it's not just for the sake of communicating, but it's also for the sake of recording some of the history of the data that you collect, to save time, either in meetings or in onboarding new people or in getting familiar with the stuff that you're doing, that we're doing, and stuff like that, right?
Yep. Conversation with Alex, I was thinking about, how when you're in Slack, you can search. You may be able, I don't recall if I can do this in Teams, probably can, where you can search throughout the history of Slack and look for any threads or, just through a search.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it with Teams, and with Teams, actually, it's nice because it will give you different. Will show you whether it was from individual discussions or with group discussions or things like that. So you can do it. Now, where I'm working right now, we are actually using Google. So our entire suite is Google. So we use Google Meet and Google Chat. And Google Chat, I don't know, it's actually one of the least functional enabled product of all those. Microsoft Teams has many more functionalities, not to speak even about Slack that has such a huge ecosystem. So I'm not sure what the history of Google Chat, exactly. I know there was Hangouts before and Google Meet, and Meet is part of it, yes. But in general, it's a very scaled down and simple system. Simple is not bad necessarily, but it also doesn't have some of the powers of the other systems as well.
I mean, we use Google as well, Google Docs and stuff, and so leaving comments. So like another way of doing async communication is through comments.
Absolutely. So collaboration is one of those things that really can help and become an async type of communication. So I remember the first time I saw that on Google Docs, like 10 or 11 years ago. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then since then, it becomes like almost a standard way for communicating. Like, you have it on Figma, you have it on Miro, you have it on many different applications. I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but I'm working right now. I have a client that is developing a system that is more in the engineering environment. And over there, they're also thinking about adding collaboration like that you can collaborate together, working together on a document, and also adding, comments to each other and stuff like that. Which makes a lot of sense, for us using
for sure.
This type of functionality for many years. But interesting enough, their persona users are not very used to something like that. So it's still something that taps into new territories these days. So it's really great to see.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. No, this was a very short and still interesting series. I also really enjoyed it because I feel quite passionate about this type of topic, and trying to instill this mindset into people wherever I work, that not everything needs to have a meeting, and not every comment that we write can be read by other people. So let's write it in the right way, right?
Yeah, right. And I like this too because one of them we got to talk about Loom as well with Mandar. So like I like Loom, and I think sometimes Loom is like underappreciated or you don't hear enough about it. And so I was happy that we got to talk about it. And I think he was even exposing it to customers. I think he mentioned embedding Loom. And so that was an interesting use case as well. I really liked using it, and I'm glad we were able to speak to him about it. Because I think video, for me personally, having video, I'm very visual. I'm a visual learner. So I typically will go to YouTube or something to watch something if I want to learn how to do something. So like seeing the video is like so important. So I can read documents, but like if I can watch a video, I'll probably watch a video.
But it's really interesting, and I was really interested to hear in that episode about the added value of Loom specifically. Because you can open a Zoom and it's free, and it can record yourself, talking and sharing your screen, and it will be the same effect. So what's really the added value of Loom, right? It seems on the surface quite a simple product, but what we learned is that they have not just collaboration options there, but also ways to find information inside specific videos, and do much more with what Loom provides as a SaaS product. So that's really the power that it adds on top of just recording a video.
And plus, you can add your image at the bottom.
With that framework that they created and that platform that they created, I think they can add more and more functionalities like that in the future that will really make it useful for communication, rather than just creating a video and sending it to someone, right?
Yep.
Because that's simple to do, but I think it's more of the how do you embed it into your workflow, how you don't lose it, how do you continue the discussion after it was recorded, and make decisions afterwards. So there is a lot of things that can happen once it's a platform.
Yeah, that's the value I got from it, was that, like I said, I embedded it within Jira tickets, and it had a good integration with Jira, and it was seamless. I mean, it worked really well. Whereas if I recorded it from a Zoom or a Google Meet or something like that,
you'll have to upload it somewhere.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah,
will be the organization. You will have to take care of the organization yourself, or here they help with the organization as well.
Yeah, so that's the value I received from it.
But I think that maybe going back to your initial comment about how it's not as known as some other products, maybe because of that, maybe people feel that, making a video is simple, why do I need a platform like that, right? So that's where maybe we can encourage people to look into it and just see, is there any added value to them? But it's also, as product managers, for us, it's really interesting to look into and say, okay, so what is the value that they're creating? And is there real values there? And is that a real product? And how can they lock in clients, et cetera, et cetera? So there is that's also one of the things whenever looking at products, I always love to think about.
It's also little nuances.
Exactly.
How sticky is it? And
learn from their experience, right?
Yeah.
Learning from successful companies out there, what their challenges are, how they overcame them, what's unique about them, what is their value proposition, how did they get there? It's always really interesting to see.
Yeah, the full spectrum.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, if our audience, if anyone listening to us have any other async tool that they really love to use, and we can always add more episodes later on. We've not done it yet, but we were thinking about expanding some of the old series that we made with new products that we either found since then, or we can find new guests to come and tell us about them. There is no shortage of products out there.
That's the truth.
To talk about. It's just a matter of like, finding the right people to come and tell us about them. So please feel free to contact Matt or myself. Usually on LinkedIn is the best way to reach us. And we can always talk about more of those asynchronous tools.
Absolutely. We'll think we'll have some good series in the future. So if anybody wants to reach out with any particular ideas or anything that they're looking to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a few series in the pipeline that we are preparing. One of them is for user testing. Another one is recording sessions and replaying them to see, how users use the system. So we have no shortage of future episodes. So please continue following us and join us. And we hope also that these episodes or this podcast can be a bit of asynchronous communication as well. But it's always nice to hear from our listeners. So don't make it one-sided only.
That's
Please,
right.
You can send us messages recorded as well, or whole episodes.
Send us a Loom, right?
Send us a Loom, exactly. Or whatever you want. Whatever you want. Exactly.
Well, good stuff. Well, thank you to all our guests. We really appreciate it. Justin, Mandar, and Alex. We really do appreciate you coming on and chatting with us about the tools, and Moshe, as always. And we look forward to talking to everyone next time.
Thank you, Matt. Always a pleasure.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.